Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode in my series Dionne Warwick, the Arista Years. And today we are talking about the extraordinary album Finders of Lost Loves, FOLL for the connoisseurs. 1985, Dionne Warwick is paired with a number of producers, four actually, and she makes an extraordinary album, and they really pushed for this album to bring her back to the top of the charts, and she comes back and works with Burt Bacharach, which she hadn't worked with for 10 years, Richard Landis, who produces part of the album, and also she's paired with Barry Manilow, who was responsible for the success of her debut album with Arista. So let's go right in. This is just an unbelievable album, which did not get an incredible amount of sales. It didn't go up to gold, but it really had so much potential, and there are such hits and such incredible songs, and a lot of these songs which many people adore, but that's just how it is sometimes. You know, we don't really know what happens. Now, the very first song on this album is No One in the World, produced by Barry Manilow. Very beautiful love song with a part in towards the end where everything stops and you just have, you know, a percussions and drums, and Dionne Warwick gives her incredible vocal range to it, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And then that song was again put exactly the way it is on her follow-up album, which was called Reservations for Two, as her last song, because I think they really thought that that album, that song, needed more chances. So right after that, she sings a song called Without Your Love, which is a very 80s type of song. You hear, you know, a bit of the synthesizers, but what I adore in all of these albums, which were all produced in the 80s, is that they did an absolute balance between the over synth type of music and a full orchestra, and you have violins, you have sax solos, you have a real orchestration, and what an orchestration. Every album that Dionne Warwick did with Arista, you have 40 plus musicians, you have background vocals, you have a lot of backing tracks, and it's very powerful. And Dionne Warwick's voice is just that cherry on the cake. Run to Me is the first duet on the album, duet with Barry Manilow. It was obvious that when they did their first album, because it was Dionne's return to music after a 5-year hiatus, it had to be all Dionne. But it was inevitable that Dionne Warwick was going to duet with Barry Manilow, and they sound magnificent together. And then Finders of Lost Love, which is a duet, but not quite, because she sings with the amazing Glenn Jones, whose voice is nothing short of a miracle. He just sounds absolutely amazing. But he comes in quite late into the song, so it's quite, you could say, a Dionne Warwick song featuring Glenn Jones. And he's just a sweetheart. You have a couple of videos when they sang together live, when they promoted the song, which was a single, and he's just so, you know, shy, and they just are adorable together. And Glenn Jones had a couple of hits, dance hits, but he never really made it very big. And that is the difference, unfortunately, that you have with people who have extraordinary voices and then people who have everything. And by that I mean the charisma, the presence, the elegance, the voice, the looks. And that's why the stars that I choose to speak of, like Dionne Warwick for the last few albums, when you see her arriving on stage, her presence is enough for you to pay, to have a seat and to go watch her. And then, the voice comes out, and then, it's nothing short of a miracle. But she has everything: the elegance, the presence, the way to hold a room, the way she can milk, every drop out of, every tear from all of these people who are watching her. And it's just that way. And when I was listening to Glenn Jones, and when you hear him complimenting Dionne Warwick on this duet, you think, God, he should have had hundreds of albums. Now, he did have quite a career, but he's not as well known to, the public, the general public. Love Doesn't Live Here Anymore is one of these torch songs. It's a Barry Manilow signature song, written by him, produced by him, and Dionne gives it her all. And it's just wow. It just goes, she's just telling you there's no love here anymore. But I don't know who she's singing that to, but anybody who hears that runs back to her like there's no tomorrow. And then It's You, which is the very first of the two duets that she does with the incomparable Stevie Wonder, the genius Stevie Wonder. I mean, these artists are just, it just piles on, it's layered, it's brownies, and it's peanut butter, and it's caramel, and it's ice cream. It's just, everything is wonderful, because Stevie Wonder is just a master musician, but the way their voices intertwine, and you can feel that there is such trust between the two that none of them compete. And who's going to compete? When you're Stevie Wonder, do you need to compete with anybody? And when you're Dionne Warwick, so the two legends together are just, singing. And It's You is just an amazing love song. And you hear it, and it's also, I often say that, the kind of music you hear and you think you can sing like like nobody, because it just looks so easy. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful duet. Then the next song is called It's Love. So there's It's You, and then It's Love. This is Barry Manilow, and this is a kind of doo-wop song, very, very 1950s. You have the almost cheesy background vocals, but it's so cute. And Dionne Warwick can sing these songs because she gives depth to these songs, although she is so light-hearted in her singing, and it's just joyous, and it's absolutely adorable, and it just catches you, and it's so catchy. I've been listening to it while I was preparing for this video, and it's in my head, and I just, I have it in constantly in my head. Then she sings Bedroom Eyes, which is also Barry Manilow. Very, very beautiful, sultry, sexy song. And it will remind you of the work that she did with Isaac Hayes, whether it be Déjà Vu, and she sang quite a bit of Isaac Hayes' work, and it's got that kind of soulful sexiness to it. And because it's Dionne Warwick, it's elegant, just like Diana Ross when she sings Love Hangover. It's just, absolute elegance, even though she's being very much a woman in the bedroom, because it's Bedroom Eyes. The weakness, everyone has a weakness. Your love just happens to be mine. Another one of Stevie Wonder's genius songs, and both these songs were featured on the soundtrack and in the movie The Woman in Red, which was a kind of a hit movie. It wasn't a huge hit, and that's quite unfortunate, because the whole album, all the music is by Stevie Wonder, and it would have given an impulse to this album. But nevertheless, all of the credit that these two songs got went to the soundtrack album, which sold more than the Dionne Warwick album. But that's just the way it goes. People just didn't quite realized that these songs would be on this album, and so they went more for the soundtrack, but that's just how it is. And Dionne Warwick ends with "You Made Me Want to Love Again," which is an absolute love song, a Barry Manilow, you know, those love songs that he writes with the orchestra just going up and up and up and up, and it will remind you of "I'll Never Love This Way Again." It even sounds like that, and they were definitely trying to reproduce the magic of "I'll Never Love This Way Again," and it is just a beautiful song, and if not, maybe even more powerful. And all of this is wrapped up in Harry Langdon beautiful photography, and this gorgeous picture of Miss Warwick. And actually Dionne Warwick was getting ready for a photo session with Harry Langdon when he caught her with this white bath robe that she was wearing while she was getting her makeup, and he thought she looked absolutely stunning, and he said, "I want to do a shot." And this is the shot that made it for the front cover of the album. The back cover, they're more studio, and you can see what came out of that photo session. So this wraps this album, but also my entire collection for Dionne Warwick. Dionne Warwick made 5 more albums with Arista. 3 of them were, I'll say, specialty albums, because she did an album completely devoted to the music of Cole Porter, and another one which was all Brazilian music, which she has a particular affection for, and then Reservations for Two, which was an album where it was mostly duets. So for that reason, I wanted to end with this album, which is to me a full Dionne album. And then she did the album Friends Can Be Lovers, which I think is a great album, and it had great reviews, but Dionne Warwick did not like that album. So because of that, I thought maybe I shouldn't speak of that album. So I will see you next week with, I was going to say, another superstar. No, this is not a superstar. This is a queen, and it actually is the queen of soul, Miss Aretha Franklin, and her switch from Atlantic to Arista again, because she called Clive Davis when she saw what he was doing for Dionne Warwick's career. And she called him, and they had lunch together, and this is how the magical collection of albums came to be. So that's what we'll talk about starting next week. Thank you again, and I'll see you next Saturday. Bye-bye.